Well, hello. So, yesterday I got back into my local theater to see a film. Now, my original plan was to go see the much talked about Project Hail Mary. But as I was looking for tickets, the auditoriums were filling up around the times that I wanted to go. So, I decided to nix that idea and I decided to go see a movie that I didn't know much about at all called They Will Kill You. This is a film by Russian-born director Kirill Sokolov, and it stars Zazie Beetz, Tom Felton, Heather Graham, and Patricia Arquette. There's kind of spoilers in the way that I'm going to describe the plot because this movie unfolds in a way that's non-linear. We follow the story from the perspective of one character, and then we kind of go back, and then we follow it from the perspective of another character. So the basic plot of this movie is that sisters Asia and Maria Reeves get separated from each other due to an abusive parental relationship, okay? For 10 years, they're apart. They kind of live their own lives. And then Asia gets word of where Maria might be. It turns out that Maria has taken a job as a maid in this satanic temple in New York, okay? And so Asia is going to go infiltrate this satanic temple, go find her sister, and hopefully be reunited with her. Okay, so that's kind of the basic plot of the movie. And as you might guess, because this is taking place in a satanic temple, this is kind of where the horror aspect of this movie comes in. This movie wants to be a lot of things, I think. It wants to be funny. It wants to have some amount of social commentary. It also wants to be a John Wick-esque kind of movie, okay? It also wants to have style. They tried very hard to stylize this film in a very kind of weird way. Does it succeed at the things that it wants to be? Not really, in my opinion. I think its major success is in its cinematography and its shot composition and some of the little details of the story. But the story itself, in my opinion, was really, really kind of boring, not original. It lacked a lot. The dialogue was very, very basic. You know, at the beginning, I was just chuckling to myself because within the first couple minutes, you know, they run into a gas station. These two sisters, Asia and Maria, run into a gas station. And Maria's like, well, what if he locks us in his basement and beats us again? It was just kind of like, what? Like, so, you know, we're being fed essentially this information that they're running from an abusive somebody who has done horrible things to them. We're told that in kind of this clunky, just brute force line. And it just comes across as like, you know, you're kind of thrown off by that because you're like, okay, you just laid that right out there. And then, you know, like immediately Asia pulls, you know, down her sleeve and shows a tattoo of a bird. And she's like, you know, look at this tattoo, you know, we're never going to be caged again. And I'm just like, oh, okay. You know, this movie got a lot of eye rolls from me. It's that kind of dialogue and exposition and plot that just are not nuanced at all. It just kind of brute forces its way through the story is the best way that I can describe it. Unfortunately, that makes the comedy suffer for me as well, because I think good comedy has to be smart to some extent. I'm not a big fan of just dumb comedy, you know, just laughs because this is so stupid that it's going to make you laugh. I'm not a big fan of that kind of comedy. I know that works for some people, but not for me so much. And that's kind of the level of comedy that this movie was working with. One of the biggest eye rolls it got for me early on was there's this fight scene where Asia, who is played by Zazie Beetz, she is trying to fight off this group of people and someone grabs her legs and she takes a power cord that's plugged into the wall and she bites it and it electrocutes the person through her body, out her feet, shoots the person across the room. And I'm just like, okay, this is the kind of movie we're dealing with, like stupid comedy, okay? Which, again, that works for some people. That's fine. It's not my kind of thing. The horror aspect, there's a lot of like grotesque things. There's a lot of like, you know, they get some good visceral blood and gore and kind of grating things that they show on screen. That's fine. If you're a fan of that, if you're a fan of like slasherish kind of horror, I think you'll like that very much. Some of the sequences were very well done, I think. They had a little bit of trouble, in my opinion, with their practical effects. There was some things like when someone got stabbed, I could see, okay, that's obviously not a real knife, and you can kind of see like the plate behind the shirt or whatever that the knife is attached to. There was one time where they lit a chair on fire, and I was like, you can clearly see that that's like a cloth prop chair that is supposed to light on fire. There was some issues like that, but for the most part, I think the action sequences, like the fight scenes and stuff like that, and even the visual effects, they were pretty good. Like I said, I think this movie shines in the cinematography, shot direction aspect of it. This movie very much gives off the vibe that the director and the writers had some really fun ideas for like specific scenes and really fun specific details for like how a horror plot might unfold, and like the little things that kind of you'd sprinkle throughout. Those were its touches of genius. You know, the film really shined in those areas where you could tell, okay, they really thought about this particular detail, or they thought about this particular scene or sequence. They thought about the choreography here pretty well. But, you know, when you stick those little shiny diamonds in a pile of mud, which is the plot, it makes it a lot more of a slog to get through. You know, you're trudging through the mud to find the diamonds, as opposed to it being a bit more forgiving of a landscape plot-wise. As far as acting goes, I mean, you know, we have actors that I recognize in here. We have Zazie Beetz, we have Tom Felton, we have Patricia Arquette, who was in Severance. So I know these actors are capable. Tom Felton, Harry Potter, he did great as Draco Malfoy. Zazie Beetz was in Joker. You know, she didn't have a huge part, but I thought she was very good in that. Zazie Beetz, I would say, is the one who really did her job well. Everyone else, I think, did a passable job. They did okay. You could kind of tell the other actors were maybe not invested fully in this movie. Patricia Arquette was doing this accent that I don't know what it was. Sometimes it seemed like maybe it was supposed to be Irish. Sometimes it seemed maybe like a hint of the South in the United States. I wasn't sure what her accent was supposed to be. It was bizarre. Tom Felton was there to just basically walk around in a group of people. He walked around, and then he crawled around, and then he maybe said one or two words, and he just kind of walked around. That was Tom Felton. My biggest question of the whole movie was, why is Tom Felton here? I have no idea. So have I been pretty harsh on this movie? Yes. The type of movie that it is will work for some people. Like it was entertaining to watch. I didn't really find it super funny. There was a guy sitting in front of me who I heard audibly laugh a couple times. He was having a good time. The action was fun to watch. Like some of the shots were cool. It'll work for some people. Didn't really work for me too much. Thanks for being with me today. I will see you next time, and I hope you get out to your local theater and watch some good films. Have a good one.
I'm appalled. Not because I'm a prude. I have my favorite movies. Favorite movies. Favorite movies. I have my favorite movies.